Pamela Anderson had to deal with a lot of violence, blood, and tears when she was married to the famous drummer Tommy Lee. People have only seen the sex bomb on the red carpet for years. But what happened behind closed doors was a nightmare that ended her life and career. What comes to mind when you think of this marriage? Is it a crazy love story or a dark scandal? Hollywood's biggest sex icon has finally taken off the mask. And the horrifying truth is enough to make everyone jump. Pamela Anderson sped into Tommy Lee's circle very quickly. And a strong desire that made them both go in a circle that they couldn't get out of. After only a few short meetings, the Mötley Crüe drummer jumped right into Pamela's personal life in late 1994, making it hard to tell who was who. After 6 weeks, they got married in Cancun on the beach. He was wearing shorts and she was wearing a white bikini. Instead of diamond rings or other fancy ceremonies, they chose to get tattoos of each other's names to show they were committed. People said it was love at first sight, but the relationship was actually a mess. After getting married, life quickly turned into a bunch of parties, drugs, and fights. That was the only time I ever loved Pamela deeply. I accepted it after the fact, but it was the worst nightmare of my life. In their villa, a secret tape was stolen from the safe, which was the most shocking event. The holiday recording, which was meant to be a keepsake, went popular around the world. This started a time when sex tapes were shared online at a speed that had never been seen before. Tom thought it was an invasion of privacy, but Pamela was the one who was hurt the most. The news stories about the tape hurt her reputation as an up-and-coming actor, and they also hurt her chances of getting a job. She once said, "I didn't just lose control of my body. I lost the job I had worked so hard to get." During all the fuss in the news, Pamela got pregnant with her first child. She found it hard to keep things normal for her small family while dealing with the growing pressure from the public. Others kept talking about her, and their friendship got worse as time went on. Tommy turned mean and jealous, and Pamela was mentally worn out. With all of this going on, she thought about leaving many times, but her blind connection kept her from doing so. Pamela felt hopeless because everyone was always fighting, drinking, and arguing. The press still said they were the hottest pair of the decade. But Pamela felt stuck inside. She wrote in her autobiography, "I thought my life would end inside those walls." After each other, 2 boys were born. The births of Brandon and Dylan were some of the few bright spots in a very bad time. Still, not much changed about the situation. When the kids came along, Pamela had to work harder to keep up the look of a happy family, but the fights got worse behind the scenes. Pamela slowly became depressed, tired, and afraid all the time because of the criticism, heated fights, and long days of not knowing what would happen. People who were involved afterwards said it was a time of love and destruction. You know what's scary? Pamela once said, "I loved him so much that I lost myself." That sentence showed what a friendship that seemed romantic was really like. However, it was really just a cycle of anger, passion, and tiredness. When Pamela said the marriage was a nightmare, she wasn't just talking about a rough time, she was talking about the whole painful experience of a star who was swept away by love and fame. As things got worse, it was the start of the coming collapse that would get even worse. There was violence, a split, and scars. If the beginning of the marriage was rough, a shocking event was what really turned things around. One night in 1998, Pamela Anderson was holding her young son when Tommy Lee did something terrible in her own home. Lee was arrested and put on trial for this crime. He was given a 6-month prison sentence, and Pamela quickly filed for divorce. This was the turning point that broke the false sense of family she had been trying to keep up. Because she was in court, Pamela got a lot of attention, but this time it wasn't good things. The press wrote in great detail about the trial, focusing on how dangerous the situation was for her. The woman who was once called a global sex symbol now looked like a real victim who had been hurt physically and mentally. In court, Pamela showed a level of drive that had never been seen before, saying that there was no going back. Right after the split, there was a fight over who would have custody of the kids. There were a lot of tense court meetings because both wanted to control Brandon and Dylan. Pamela was afraid that Tommy Lee's wild behavior would have an effect on the kids, while Lee tried to show that he was worthy. But it took Pamela years of hard work to get to the point where she could agree to shared custody. Pamela had to deal with legal fights and her health was getting worse. She found out she had hepatitis C from sharing tattoo needles with Lee while she was telling him about her past. People were shocked when this information came out, and it showed how bad the relationship was. Pamela had to spend years in treatment because the sickness not only hurt her physical health but also her mental health. It was even clearer how badly Pamela felt when she said she was thinking about ending it all. In later writings, she wrote that she was having a panic attack, couldn't sleep a lot, and was scared all the time. She wrote, "Where every day was a battle with myself." Not only was the violence, but the thought of Lee's jealousy and control was also making things worse. The friendship that used to be passionate and interesting has turned into a painful lesson. Pamela has said many times that Tommy was her one and only true love, but she also says that it broke her. The line "I fell in love blindly and paid with my youth" turned into a message that truly showed how her heart felt, attached and tormented. Lee was still a part of Pamela's life after they got divorced. They had to talk to each other for the sake of their 2 kids. But every time they did, it brought back memories that were hard to get rid of. Pamela even said that talking about the kids was like sticking a knife in an old wound every time. In public, they were still a pair because of their situation, but in real life, they had to be apart. Even more, Pamela found it hard to get away from the image of tragedy after being put in the part of victim. Her acting career leveled off, and she was in fewer and fewer movies. Her personal life was more often in the news than her acting job. Everyone watched Pamela do everything, from going to events to speaking in public. It was during this time that she felt very lost and no longer wanted to be in the center. In her heart, Pamela was dealing with 2 different truths. One was that the love that once burned had left behind children, and the other was that the same love had caused many problems that could not be fixed right away. Both of these extremes were hurting her and making her want to find a way out. Even though it looked like everything was falling apart, Pamela stayed strong to protect her kids and slowly kept up her job as a mother. Over the next few years, this ruin led to hasty marriages and constant traveling. After that, she slowly came to understand that Tommy Lee's ghost would always be there, even though they were no longer together. Short marriages and the lost path. After her divorce from Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson tried different ways of expressing her emotions, but all of them failed. She got married again and again, but each one was short, rocky, and failed, leaving her looking for something she had never found. Pamela got married to singer Kid Rock in 2006. The relationship made headlines because of how different the rock star and the TV star were from each other. After getting married on a boat in France, things seemed to start over. But less than 4 months later, Pamela asked for a divorce. It was found that the problem was insurmountable differences and problems caused by different ways of life. The split put her back in the public eye, but Pamela was still feeling very sad inside. A famous poker player named Rick Salomon was the next person Pamela talked to. They got married for the first time in 2007 but quickly got divorced after a few months. They chose to get married again after being apart for a few years, but they broke up again soon after. Pamela has been in the same relationship twice, and both ended so quickly. This shows that she has never been able to make emotional choices without repeating herself. These tries were like a desperate look for someone to fill the hole Tommy Lee left. But it led to a string of fails. Dan Hayhurst was a building worker who lived with Pamela on Vancouver Island. They got married in 2020, during the pandemic. The wedding happened on the property of her own house. This choice made a lot of people think that Pamela had finally found peace, but the marriage ended after only a year. Pamela admitted that she made this hasty choice because she was lonely during the social distance time. The ghosts of the past brought her back to a lost world once more. Pamela has said many times that her later marriages were not based on true love when she thinks back. Instead, they were hasty responses meant to fill a need. She says, "I couldn't get back the feeling I had, and every time I tried, it made me more tired." That statement makes it clear that she has been stuck in her search for commitment for a long time. Even though things have gone wrong, Pamela's 2 boys, Brandon and Dylan, are the only thing that keeps her balanced. She spends a lot of time with her kids and keeps a close eye on their progress in the fashion and entertainment fields. But because of all the breakups, Pamela has worked hard to become a mother who keeps her kids safe from the public eye. This has helped her keep her personal life somewhat stable. Still, the wrong way was clear. At that time, the news always talked about Pamela's personal life. Instead of a picture of a popular actress, there were a bunch of headlines about failed relationships. Art projects stopped happening, and Pamela became linked to the idea of a woman who was having problems. This fact made it even harder for her to get away from her past. The marriages that didn't last long left a clear mark. Pamela understood that her attempts to find love would not be enough. It was easy for her to get lost after a breakup because she always picked the wrong person at the wrong time. That experience did, however, help Pamela realize that the best way to heal is not to depend on other people, but to turn back to herself. It was her choice to live alone and be shy. Her kids and her freedom is the most important things in her life. She didn't give up after each loss. Instead, they were painful lessons that helped her see the truth. Every attempt to replace Tommy Lee made the wounds worse. From there, Pamela started to think of a new path where she could get away from the label that came with having broken up with people and get back to her values through art and making better personal choices. Birth again through art and truth. The first thing Pamela Anderson did to start over after years of bad relationships was to tell her story. She didn't keep quiet about what happened. Instead, she used art and media to talk about her past and take back control of her image. This was the event that made Pamela come out of the dark and change how people saw her in public. When her autobiography, Love Pamela, came out in 2023, it was a big deal. In it, Pamela wrote in great detail about her famous childhood marriage to Tommy Lee and the rough years that followed. This time, unlike the outside rumors, the voice came from her. The book sold a lot of copies very quickly and helped Pamela get back to being known as a woman who was brave enough to tell the truth. At the same time, Netflix aired the documentary Pamela, Love Story, which included personal materials and photos that had never been seen before. This gave viewers a more honest view. These two items gave Pamela the tools she needed to change her legacy. Pamela wasn't happy just telling stories about her life, so she went back to Broadway in Chicago. When she came back, she made a big splash as Roxy Hart. Some kind of part that needed singing, dancing, and acting. People saw that Pamela wasn't just a sex symbol anymore, she was a real performer with amazing skills. The fact that she was noticed on Broadway showed that she could get past old biases and find new career options. Her success kept going with the movie project The Last Showgirl. Pamela got a lot of praise and nominations for major awards for this part. Afterwards, she talked about how each piece of art is like therapy for her. Pamela said in a promotional chat, "Every time I show up on screen, I feel like I peel back another layer of the past." The Last Showgirl not only marked her return, but it also showed how strong she was when she had to deal with her past. When Pamela was in The Naked Gun in 2025, she continued to get a lot of attention. For her, it was a comedy, but it was also a chance to heal her mental scars. In an interview, Pamela said that working on the set had made her feel happy and confident again. By taking part in a big entertainment production, Pamela showed that she was fully back in the artistic world and no longer limited by the prejudices she had had in the past. Pamela uses everyday life to build new values as well as movies and the theater. People watch the TV show Pamela's Cooking with Love, which is about a simple woman sharing recipes and stories in the kitchen. This show is unique because it is both funny and relatable, with Pamela combining recipes with life lessons. It's clear that she's at peace and wants to share it. Along with art, Pamela loves doing things with other people. She actively supports PETA and other animal rights groups and often speaks out for vegetarianism and environmental protection. By doing more good things, Pamela is no longer just seen through the lens of entertainment, which helps her get more attention. Additionally, this helps to support her new image as a grown, responsible woman with strong morals. A new picture is made when memoirs, documentaries, stage plays, movies, TV shows, and action come together. People no longer think of Pamela Anderson in terms of sex tapes or scandalous marriages. Instead, they think of her as a person who worked to take back control of her life. Pamela stands out from the rest because of her artistic skills and her desire to tell her own story. She is well known in the entertainment business and also a great example of how art can help people feel better. This journey shows that you can get back up after falling and change how you feel about yourself. From this base, Pamela keeps starting a new story where truth and art work together to show that she is still alive. Legacy and strength. At age 58, Pamela Anderson has come out of her personal problems to figure out what she wants her legacy to be. When people think back on all the relationships that didn't last in the rough days, what they remember most is her strength to get through hard times and her ability to change. When she told everyone about her terrible marriage to Tommy Lee, it marked the end of an era and the start of a new way of seeing her. Pamela's most important legacy is not her magazine covers or one-off TV parts, but the fact that she was brave enough to tell the truth. Many people would rather keep quiet to protect their reputation, but Pamela decided to tell the whole truth. This made her a sign of being honest and brave. It showed that even mistakes and painful feelings can be dealt with if they are talked about. Can change the way people remember someone. Brandon and Dylan, her two children, are big parts of that heritage. Both of them grew up in the public eye, but they have stayed away from the media. Pamela has said many times that her kids should learn from her mistakes and not make the same ones. The way they've grown shows how hard Pamela has worked as a mother, which is her main job. But all of her emotional failures. Pamela has had an impact on many young women, not just her family. She is a great example of a woman who knows how to take back control because she called out violence in public, admitted that blind love had hurt her, and fought hard for her freedom. It's easy to understand. Don't give up on your hard past, it can help you build a new life. Pamela also changed the way people thought about famous people in show business. She used to be seen as a stereotypical sex symbol, but now she shows that jobs can be rebuilt through hard work, art, social activism, and saying what she thinks. This leaves a clear mark, the picture of a woman who is brave enough to stand out from her peers. Pamela is 58 years old and lives a quiet life on Vancouver Island. Spending time in nature with family, reading, and making art. This way of life shows how mature she is and how she has been through storms to find peace. She left behind more than just her memoirs, movies, and TV shows. She also left behind the picture of someone who has been strong through it all. A strong message was left by Pamela Anderson. Avoiding the truth is not what makes you strong, it makes you brave. Her terrible marriage to Tommy Lee used to be the worst thing in her life, but now it shows how strong she is. When you look back at Pamela's whole journey, you can see that she is valuable not only in the entertainment business, but also as a story of survival, where each setback makes her stronger. That is the most important thing she leaves the next generation. That's the path Pamela Anderson has taken. She talks about the good times, the bad times, her strength, and the memory she leaves behind at age 58. Like she said, everyone trips and falls, but what counts is how we get back up and keep going. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video if you find this one helpful and want to help us spread truly inspiring stories. Feel free to share your thoughts about this unique trip in the comments section below.